welcome everybody. Just giving it a little bit for people to catch up and join in and get their sound sorted like I've had to. I think my camera is not up far enough. There we go. Okay, welcome to Natalie May Scrapbooking. I'm Naomi, one of the brand ambassadors, and this is live number 3 for day 2 of the Great International Craft Show online. So, hi Jackie. I'm assuming you can all hear me okay. So let's kick off because I'm going to do some ATCs with you today and show you a few different products and how to use things in a different way. Kasia and I have been on the same wavelength, so I'm going to use some of the things that she's used this morning, but in a different way. So hello, beautiful Kasia. Okay, so if you haven't already had a look at the specials, Kasia was live this morning at 9 a.m. Adelaide time and then did a demo later that day. So the specials for today only. Yesterday we had different specials. Today, the 1 day only are for today only. So what that means is that if you placed an order yesterday, check your emails. You should have a code that means that you can add on to your order using our no judgment postage add-on. You just need the code. Hello, Susan. Welcome. So your first order, if you didn't order yesterday, your first order, you still have to pay postage. But any orders that you add on either today, tomorrow, or over the weekend, you use your code for no judgment postage. So let's crack on. Today, I'm going to show you a few different ways to do ATCs. Now, for those who aren't familiar with ATCs, they are artist trading cards. Hello, Susan. That's all right. I worked out what you're saying, lovely. So today, just going through the specials that are today only: 15% off stencils, 15% off Tim Holtz, 20% off Vicky Booten, and 20% off Paper Rose. Let's pop that aside. So artist trading cards, what are they? They are little pockets of joy. As a scrapbooker from way back, I didn't think I'd be able to work on such a small space. But here I am loving them. And Natalie May Scrapbooking does monthly artist trading card swaps. So if you are not on our creative community, pop on over. You'll see them advertised at 7 p.m. Adelaide time on the 1st of every month. And there's a new theme each month. Hey, Tegan. So this is just a really quick little flick through of some of the pockets of joy and they're very addictive. So as you can see, I can't even get them all in on my screen. We had an Alice theme, we had a pink theme, we had faces. So this is what I'm going to show you how to do. Now, if you scroll back through Natalie's, through the Facebook page or over on to YouTube, you will see that Nat has shown you how to do some ATCs, and there's 2 ways of doing them. One way is to create color and a background on a big piece of paper and then cut it up, and I'm going to do the other way today. So I've already cut mine into size. All the instructions come when you join in a group as well. So they're 2.5 by 3.5 inches, just like a kid's Pokemon card. I call them mummy's Pokemon cards. So how we start. I have some of the cuttables, and I have a few different cuttables under Natalie May. These are some of the cuttables. I have already cut them out to save you watching that painful process. And I'm going to show you how to create a background with these two. I've also got different ones. I'm showing you how to use a few different products. So the reason I'm showing you what my focal points are is that this is the color scheme that I'm going for. So I'm going to do a blue and I'm going to do a red maroon. So I'm going to pop those aside. And so first of all, I'm going to start with the blue, and I'm going to use my Lindy's sprays. So Lindy's sprays are they come in a powder and you add your own water to them, so it's not as hard for postage. And most of them have a shimmer to them. There are some flat sprays that don't, but these two do. So I'm using Sassy Sapphire and Iceberg Azure. So I wanted a bright blue, but I also wanted a bit of a darker blue to add that grunge. These are so easy to make backgrounds with, and this can be done on cards, on scrapbooking. I'm just doing ATCs because it's nice and quick. So I'm just going to give a really quick little squirt with High Tina with the lighter colour. And I don't need much. Just wipe my nozzle off. And today I'm also using, this one is a piece of the watercolour cardstock, and I'm using the Express It cardstock, but there's also, I can't remember the other name, but if you look up watercolour, you'll see it. Now, I want to add a little bit of this one. It's a bit of a darker colour, so I'm just going to do some little tiny squirts and some drops. And that's all I'm going to do for that background. So I'm going to pop that aside, and here's one I created earlier, and that's how it dries up. It does have a beautiful shimmer to it. I'm hoping you can see that. Yes, you can. Okay, so we're going to create on that. I'll pop this one aside for later. You can also run it down so it gets that, and you can drip it off. All right, so the next one I'm going to do is the red. Now, this one I'm not going to use the sprays. I've got two different types of magicals. So this is not in a vermilion years, and this is a flat magical from the Monet All Day set that came out recently, and this is one of the shakers. This is Nat's set that she created, and this is the Trust the Process red. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet my watercolor paper, and I'm using a dry brush. So I'm going to add my lighter color, which is this beautiful, beautiful red. And I'm just going to tap on. I'm okay with a little bit of white space. And just wipe that brush off. So that's one type of magical. And I'm going to, some of those didn't activate there, so I'm just going to spray a little bit on there. And now that that's wet, the beauty of these guys is that they've got a little shaker. It does, doesn't it? And this one is got a bit of purple to it. And you know that purple is made up of, well, it can have some brown tinges to it. So I haven't put too much on there, but what I'm going to do is then get a wet brush and just activate that pigment. So if you haven't seen them before, Lindy's are a powder, a pigment based dye. So it means that they're activated with water, but they are also permanent once they're dry. And they are beautiful. Quick tip is that it will get on your hands and it will stain your hands until you wash something, your hair, the dishes, whatever. So that is that one, and here's one that I did earlier. So you can see the difference in these two. This is the flat, there's no shimmer to these ones, and look at the different pigments of color that we have there. And this is the shimmer. All right, so that is how you start your background. So I'm going to pop those aside and use the ones I prepared earlier because I'm on a time limit. All right, so a few products that I want to show you. So look at that. And it doesn't matter that these guys are a bit bigger. I don't mind that. I will show you. I sometimes like to add words, and here's a few that I've done. Hi, Karen. Here's a few that I've done for the current one, and it was, I used my favorite stamp, and that is Claire's Alphabets. I just love stamping with that one, but you can use faces with beautiful backgrounds. So nice and easy to to create. All right, so what we want to do is we want to add a bit of interest. So because stencils are 15% off, let's get some stencils out. So I'll pop these cute little guys up here. And I've got, this is a Dina Wakley Pointed. It is one of my favorite stencils. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get a sponge, a makeup sponge, and cut the end off here. One of my favorite things to do with Lindy's is to add some black gesso over. So I've got, just off the screen here, I've got a little bit of gesso, and I don't, because I'm working on such a small space, I don't need too much. So I'm just going to pop it onto my little messy mat there. Now, the trick here is that I don't want to have too much paint. So I'm dabbing it on and then dabbing it off over here. Thanks, Kasha, doing some ninja linking magic there. And I'm doing a dabbing motion. Now, sometimes when you put other mediums over the top of Lindy's, it can activate the pigment, particularly if it's got a lot of water in it. So that's why I like to use quite a thick gesso. And I'm doing a dabbing motion. So there's not much liquid in that at all. Oh, excellent. I would have done that for you this morning, but I had to put you on mute because I was having a pedicure while I was watching you. I took advantage of the kids and hubby not being here and went and got my toes done, had a back massage. All right, and I've nearly run out, so I'm not even going to do the whole thing. So look how striking that looks. So I'll just pop that to the side, clean up my little bit. You're either one of these people who like a clean stencil or you like a messy stencil. I like clean ones. I'll show you one Nat sent me later. You can tell it's not mine. Alrighty. So next we'll move on to the red one. So I'm going to do 2 at a time in different styles. So I've got a few more set aside with some different focal points, and I'm going to try and power through 8 ATCs for you. All right, so moving on to, oh, darn it, I needed that black gesso. Okay, so this is Nat's Organic Circles stencil, and this one is on special at the moment. I'm just getting back that black gesso. And again, I'm going through my stencil, just dabbing. And I've used way too much gesso on my messy mat here. And I'm going to do the whole thing here. There is a method to my madness. Now you could use black acrylic paint because it's a darker color than the pigment. It won't bring that color forward. If you used a white acrylic paint, you will find that your Lindy's will change. Some of the pigment will activate again with mediums, and it can color your paint. So sometimes if you put white over the top, it can turn blue or red depending on what color you're using. So just be mindful of that. I find it doesn't do it as much with gesso. All right, and I'll just wipe that up because I'm likely to put my hand in there. All right, so we've got 2 backgrounds. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is a little bit of stamping for these backgrounds. And before I do that, now I know Kasha showed you some of the beautiful Stella paste from Funky Fossil earlier today. I'm not going to pop them through well, not on this one, a stencil today, but I'm going to show you how a different way to use it. I have had a play with them. So this is Distress Oxides through a stencil, and this is the other one with Lindy's in the background with a stencil. So they are my way of using glitter, and I do love glitter, but I hate glitter. So what I'm going to do, this one is my favorite, and I'll make sure my hand's clean, is I'm going to add a little bit of shimmer around my guy here. So I'm just giving him a bit of an edge. You know, and these mixed media projects are all about texture. Yeah, it's my fave, Kasha. I love the clear. I think I'll use it a lot. And these glitters are quick drying too. So he's just getting a nice little outline, and it gives him a little bit of texture too. So we like to create texture on our projects, and that just adds one. So I'll just sit him up there on my little lamp, and then I'll do Alice as well. Oop. All right. So I hope everybody's having a wonderful, well, not everyone's having a day off work, are they, Kash? But having some celebrations of whatever type that you want to, however you choose to celebrate Australia Day or not, or your day off work if you don't celebrate Australia Day. Yes, I hope you are enjoying your day. It's been really muggy here today. We had 10 minutes of rain in Canberra last night, and then that was it. So let me see if I can get that shimmer. I just have to get that. Oh, you can see it if I can get the camera in the right spot. So it's just got a bit of a shimmer around the edge. And I'll pop that aside to dry. All right. So that one makes me happy. And the cleanup is this. Lucky we love the crafting and playing with all the things. All right, so back to these guys. So before I add any doodling, I'm going to use some stamping. And one of my very favorite stamps is the Claire's Dots, which I use all the time. And this is my other one from Funky Fossil, which is Galactic Wanderer. And I love all of these, but I particularly love the numbers in there. So what I'm going to do is get some black archival ink, and I'm just going to add a little bit more interest, not a heap, just into those backgrounds. So a little bit of dots. And I'm off stamping as well, so I get the shadow effect. Just in 2 spots there. Wipe that a little bit. Doesn't make it clean. Pop that aside, and then my little numbers, which has fluff on it. All right, now the thing with doing numbers and letters is that you don't want it to be upside down. So I've got a little bit of off-cut paper here just to make sure that I've got it up the right way. And I'm just going to add a little bit up there. And a little in a corner. All right. Should I bring my camera down a little bit? Does anyone want me to bring my camera down a bit so you can see a bit better, since I'm working on such tiny little projects? I might do it. So just look away for a sec if you get seasick. And there we are. Hopefully that's a bit better. All right. So nearly done for these two. So what I'm using as my sentiment is I love these little Tim Holtz sticker books. If you pop in Tim Holtz stickers, you'll find there's a whole heap of different ones. This is the snarky one. I don't think there's too many of that left, but I've been using this on ATCs forever. So I'm happy to do there's little ones, There's big ones, but I can always just find something, and it's in black and white as well. So they are 15% off today as part of the Tim Holtz range. So get onto those. Now, to finish these two off, I'm going to use a white, I'm going to use a white gel pen. So this is a Uniball gel pen. If you look up gel pen on the website, you'll see those. And one of the beauties of putting gesso on top of Lindy's is that it creates a matte finish, which means that your gel pens or your paint pens will go over it beautifully. So I'm doing a double line just because I like to. But super duper simple, easy to create an interesting background. And of course, just because I'm using mediums and that sort of thing with ATCs, you don't have to. You can use cardstock if you're a paper crafter. You can still join in. Everyone joins in. Jackie does completely different to me, and she does paper stuff, and I generally use Lindy's in my backgrounds. So again, just doing a double line. Now I will add something else, but just look at the difference that white pen makes on your ATCs or your background. So you could do exactly the same thing I'm doing in an art journal page, a scrapbooking page. Just add your little, we do have the bigger cuttables. These are the smaller ones, these guys here, but you could add those to your, just check that they're dry. Oh, no, not. Stuck my finger in that one. Now, Peter over here, good old Peter, he's my favorite rabbit. I've used him about 7 times. So I'm going to pop him here. So I will be cutting some of him off. But the reason I'm popping him there is because I'm going to do a little bit of squiggle, as we like to call it, in my circles. And a little bit up there. And down here. Alrighty. So that was too easy. Nearly done. So the other thing I'm going to do to finish those off, and I'm going to pop her that side, is I'm going to get a bit of black cardstock. So I don't know if anyone's like me, but every time I cut a bit of black cardstock off, I keep it. So I have a big stash of white cardstock and a big stash of black cardstock. So just to frame it and bring that black and white in. So this one says, shh, no one cares. And I've lost my scissors right in front of me. So I'm just going to, I don't do measuring. I'll just, if it's wonky, it's wonky. It's all good by me. Thank you, Tina. Now, normally I normally do cut that off, but it's just going to go over the top there. And let's see, I could do a bit of a, oh, I love this one. So this one's a bit longer. So I'm going to cut it up before I put it onto my black cardstock. It says, if it requires pants or a bra, it is not happening today. That is almost my day, except I had to duck down to the shops. Oh, and I'm going to the movies tonight with a friend. So I'm cutting this. These are quite sticky. So no need for any glue. And I'm just keeping in mind that I want this to go down the side here, so I'm just cutting it into small portions so that I can get that there. Now, how long have I been going? Oh God, I've only done 2. All right, I may have to not do 8. I did want to complete some ATCs from Woe to Go, because often when I've done lives, I finish them off or only show you the background or the front end. So I just wanted to show you how you can easily do these. So if you were doing it the other way, so that one will go, and I'm not going to pop these on yet. I will take a picture of them. So that one will go on there. This isn't dry yet. So, and then I will put, if it requires pants or a bra. It is not happening today. And the other thing I will probably do is go around it with a border just to finish it off, and I'll trim them off. So I'll do that off screen, but there's 2 that we have done. Nice and easy, simple ATCs. So popping those aside, and then I'm going to bring in this little stash that I've got. All right, so again, we're using watercolor paper, and I've got these girls. I can't remember, I think they're called Moody Girls or something like that, and they are Nat's Cuttables. And this is one of the stencils Nat sent me. So, which I love. And I'm going to make some backgrounds with that. So I've got 2 watercolor pieces here. And whoops. So I'm going to pull out some colors from the girls. So this one, I'm going to use the yellow, and so I've got, oopsie. So Tim Holtz, of course, Distress Oxides are on special today. So if you don't have colors or you need re-inkers, which I do, today's the day to pick those specials up. So I've got picked Raspberry and Wild Honey, which will be those tones. And then this one I've got Blueprint, Sketch, and Peacock Feathers, which will be these ones. So I'm going to, oh, I forgot to use this last night. So this is the new refillable markers. And what I've done in there is I've created my own color using 2 different paper artsy paints. And I'm going to use that as my mark making on here today too. All right, so my little blending brush, the Uniquely Creative blending brush, I'm going to get some, I've got watercolor here, so I'm going to do it in a different way. So I'm going to smush straight on here, get a little spray, oops, and I'm going to tap my color on. Ooh, that's nice. Oh, yes. Okay, I'm going to dry that off and then keep tapping, because that creates my layers. Doesn't need to be completely dry. So by layering the oxide, you'll get a different effect. So you'll get these cool speckled effects wherever you're. So we'll dry that layer off. So you just dry in between, and you can create some really interesting backgrounds. Whoop. The problem with using a little piece of watercolor, and this watercolor card takes that color beautifully, so I don't want to waste any of that color. I'll just wipe the rest of that up there, bit of paper towel, Just dry that off so I don't wet it underneath. Okay, so there's my first base. I'll just pop that over here. And my second base, I'm starting with the lighter colours. So Peacock Feathers, one of my favourites. If you haven't watched me before, I'm a blue tones person. All of my things will generally have blue in them. All right. Ooh, yes. See, that's why, because I love those. Alrighty. I'm making sure I haven't missed. I love that quote too, Tegan. All right. So you can get some really, really interesting backgrounds by doing this smooshy technique. And I know Tim does them a lot with the Tim does them a lot with his browns, and I mean he does it with all of his colours, but I mean I'm not a browns person, so I do try to do a little bit of vintage stuff every now and then, and I do have some browns that I'll do next. I have put some aside, but look at that, it's absolutely gorgeous. So easy to do. You can also do it with distress inks. It doesn't have to be the oxides. The oxides give that chalkiness to them, whereas the inks are a bit more opaque. All right, so now layering up. I'm going to move that one aside and go back to my yellow. And I'll just dab off any excess. So much detail in there. So let's get this stencil and pop that in here. And I'm going to use my picked raspberry. Now the good thing with the oxides is that you kind of don't have to change your blending tool. This one is one of my favorite blending tools. I also have the little Ultra ones for really tiny ones. But I'm concentrating on where the yellow is. This is a fabulous stencil. Ooh, look at that. So pretty. So pretty. All right, pop that aside. We'll do the same thing with this one, except I'm going to get rid of my pink. Now, noting that there's a little bit of pinkiness to the girls in their face, I will clean this off a little. I'm going to add the blueprint sketch over, no, I've changed my mind. This is what working on the fly is. I'm going to add the blueprint sketch in the same way that I just did that. So I'm going to do 2 tones of blue. This one reminds me of the original jeans. And I'm not going to do a heap. It's a bit liquidy. So I'm picking up those dots. All right, that's enough. I'll wipe that off. All right, and I'll dry that off, and then I'm going to use one. I am going to use this through it's the Enchanted Forest. It's got greens and pinks through it, but I think it will go really nicely with the blue tones. So just for the sake of keeping my time frames, I'll just take off that excess. There we go. All right, so stencil, catalyst tool, favorite tool ever. And this is the Stella paste from Funky Fossil, and it is the Enchanted Forest. And it is so pretty. All right, So I'm just going to pop a bit on here. And I'm only going to do a thin layer because I don't want to be sitting here all day drying it off. Yeah, that is beautiful. Thin layer, she says, and then she dips her callus tool back in the pot for some more. It's just so pretty. And I don't normally do pretty crafting things much. All my scrapbooking stuff is blue and greens because I have 2 boys. All right, pop that aside. I'm just going to wipe that off with a baby wipe. That should be good enough. And then lifting that up. Ooh, yes. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Just make sure the camera's catching up with me, but you can see that shimmer. All right. So quickly wiping that off. Comes off quite easily when it's wet, so you're best to get it off while it's wet. Definitely my way of doing glitter. All right, popping that aside, and let's bring this one back. So again, using that stamp, what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to use my inks using the picked raspberry. And I'm just going to add a bit of stamping into the corner. And then up this corner. Beautiful. Oh, that sounds lovely, Leslie. It's like Christmas when you unpack craft stuff, isn't it? All right, popping that aside. So now when you position your person, she's looking that way. So you don't want to put her there because you're going to cut her off, but you want her to look in. So she'll go there and then the quote will go over there. But what I want to do is add a little bit of doodling. And I will use a black quote and I will line it with a bit of white paper. So let's find one of these black quotes. And I just want a short one. Oh, I love this. My favourite thing to make for dinner is reservations. Oh, man, these are funny. All right, and again, it's a long one. So well, that's why we have postage, isn't it? Leslie. Wonderful thing about postage. So speaking of postage, if you didn't get the memo, we have a new way of doing the no judgment postage because we're not judging how many orders you put in. I certainly wouldn't be judging anyone because mine is in excess. Don't tell my husband. After you've put your first order in and you have paid for shipping once, you will be sent a code, and that code will give you access to our no judgment shipping. So there is a small handling fee for each order, but they will all be bundled up together and sent as one. And that just allows you to take advantage of the different specials each day. All right. So when we do our colors, we need to bring black and white into our work because it creates balance and depth to your work. So I'm going to pop, I don't want it up near her face, so I'm probably going to pop it there and maybe across her body a little. So that's probably going to go there. But what I want to do in the background is a little bit of doodling before I put her on there. And I'm just going to get a black gel pen. And I'm just going to go around this really loosely. Uh-oh, didn't pick the greatest pen. Anyway, it's here now. I like to pick a thin pen to do these sort of things, because sometimes if you do a paint pen, it can be a bit too much, and I don't want it to be too much. So, all right, really quickly, little doodling. We all love a good doodle. It's good for your soul to do this part. It's because you don't have to think. You can just go with the lines. And I don't always do the whole thing. And that will probably do me for that. And then before I stick down, I'm just going to do a double line around the edge, and then this way as well. How am I going for time? Oh, the next one I'll have to speed through. All right, so to stick it down, I use my trusty sticky glue. How do you clean those blending brushes? Stick them in water. So I don't use this for permanent ink. I only use it for my distress inks, and that means that it comes out. So I stick it in a tub of water, rinse it out, and then stick it in a thing of water for the night, and then come back to it the next day. So popping her there, and then, yeah, so I don't want to put it on her face, but just below her chin. I actually love a good dad joke. So these little snarky things are like right up my alley. You'll never hear anyone laugh harder at a dad joke than me. All right. So there's that one. Nice and easy little ATC card. And all I will do now is turn her over and trim her off. And we are done for that one. Now the blue one, we'll just pop that over there. The blue one, we won't be doing that. But again, I'll be putting that one there, and I'll finish that one off on camera. I probably won't be doing any stamping, or I might do a little bit of black dots down here actually, but I'll need to wait for that to dry. I actually love that. The colors in that is beautiful. All right, I'll finish those off and take a photo, and let's move on to another one. All right. All right, last but not least, this will get me through. So this is not watercolor paper. This is just plain old cardstock. Oh, I forgot to use this. Hang on. Let me get that girl back. Where did she go? Okay, I just wanted to add in a little bit of mark making with my new color I made. So I'm just going to pop in just some marks up there. Perfect. Just adds a bit of that pink in there. So these are great. I've only used a little bit of so they're the refillable markers, and I've got Paper Artsy paint in there, and I do love them. All right, so I am using these cute little Wonder Boy sets. So I'm going to do a dog and this little guy on it, and I'm going to use some acrylic paint. So grabbing my trusty Art by Marlene size 20, I'm going to do a couple of different ones. So starting with desert sand, Now we're just going to give that a little shake. All right. I said I'd do a bit of a vintagey one, didn't I? Well, this is it. Doesn't happen often. I'm just not as confident with the vintage colours as I am. So it's, whoops. Apparently I can't keep that on the page either. So that's a learning curve for me, is to use my vintagey colours a bit more. And I'm just swiping that on with a dry brush. And that is that. And I'll just wipe that up. And that mess that I made under there. All right. So next, what I'm going to do is Paper Rose. Paper Rose is on special. Do the markers have just straight paint or water added also? I put straight paint in them, but the paints that I use, it depends on the paints that you use. These ones were quite thick colours because all different colours have different amounts of pigment in them. So you'll notice that your reds are a bit thicker than other colours. So these were quite thick. So I added the tiniest bit of water just so that it could shake around. And then you have to, it's like the life of colour pens. You have to point down to activate them and eventually it comes out there. They're quite good, especially if you go for one colour a lot. All right, so to make this, so I'm going to do two things here. So now I've also got vanilla custard. And I just realised I put my brush in the water, but that's okay. I'm going to use my other, I don't even know, 12 or 14, 16, 18. I can't see, it's rubbed off. So I'm, oh, actually, I could use my finger for that. All right, I'm just going to pop a nice healthy layer of this over top. Now, Paper Rose is on special today, 20% off. And this is one of my favourite Paper Rose stencils, and it is Pinwheels. So I'm popping that over the top. I'm getting the clean side of my baby wipe, and then I'm rubbing through. I have used this stencil to death. And I haven't gessoed this, so I'm just really gentle in pulling that off. And how much? Yep, I did rip it a little bit. That's okay. I should have gessoed that first. Didn't think about that. Anyway, that's all right. That's going to be covered up. And then this one over here, I'm going to do the opposite. And I'm going to get my sponge. And I'm going to put that same stencil and that same colour through the stencil. Now, because this is a lighter colour that I'm putting over the top, I am being quite generous with my paint. And I'm just going down in a diagonal direction. Oh, so pretty. So, so pretty. All right. I am going somewhere with this. Don't worry. Keeping an eye on my time. All right. Clean that up. What have I got? 49 minutes. 10 minutes to go. Can she do it? She can. So one thing that I do want to do to vintage this up, and I'm just going to quickly hit it with this. And now that I look at it, I think that this paper is not even the KZ Craft cardstock. I think it's a bit of thicker printer paper that I had. But anyway, it's happening. So I'm going to get a baby wipe, And I'm going to vintage this up a little bit more. And this is what I like to do with syrup. I don't particularly use syrup, Dina Wakley's syrup, too much. But I'm going to get that paintbrush back out again, out of the water, dry it off a bit. So I'm going to it's kind of got an antique-y feel to it. So I've just put a very thin layer of that over, and then I'm going to get my baby wipe in a small section, and I'm going to just lightly rub. I could rub a bit harder if I gessoed, but I didn't gesso, so here we are. And it gives it that little bit of a vintage look to it compared to that. I might even do it on that one as well, just to cover those ripped bits. Hopefully it works. Okay, so just getting another clean bit. I'm just touching. So the trick to doing this is it still has to be wet. Ideally, you should have gessoed. But there we go. We've got a bit of a vintagey look. Now, to finish off the vintage part, of course, we need some stamping. So I'll quickly dry that. Now, one of my very, very favourite stamps, and I've actually had to hide it from myself because I use it way too much, is Nat May's Won't Let You Down stamp. So what I'm going to do is let's see if this ground espresso does it for me. Now, being something that's got letters on it, I'll get that stamp out to make sure. I don't care what it says. It's the text I like, but I want it to be up the right way. So I'm just going to tap, yes. Look at me getting all vintagey. And I'll do the same up this corner. Clean that off. No, you can't. And look at my stamp. I've literally used one section of it. This part up here hasn't never been used. It is honestly one of my favorites. All right, another thing I want to quickly do here is I want to add a little bit of a splatter. And I can do that with the oxides as well. I just realised there's a bit of paint there. So I've just put it on there, get a wet brush, bit of water, activate that there, and then a bit of a splatter. I did say I like to over splatter. Well, there you go. That was just evidence of it. All right, finishing up. So I have done, well, I'll grab them out in a second. And I did run short of time of my plans, but there you go. So that is, just going to cheat again and get rid of that wetness just for the sake of time. So my little guys here, now look how cute they look on those backgrounds. So let's stick those down. I've still got 5 minutes. So let's stick these guys down. Now, remembering placement. So he's looking this way. So we want him to be that way. Now, there is a bit of white around because, you know, I can't cut that great. So the way to fix that is that we're going to back our quote, put a black quote and back our quote with some white cardstock, because otherwise the white part of this guy's looking forward, so we can put him wherever the hell we like. All right, so otherwise that white part on the cutouts is really quite out there. So grabbing our quotes, and we will back it with white. All right, we'll get a black quote. Oh, I'm going to get some short ones so I don't have to cut them too much. Okay. Why limit happy to an hour? See, I love them. And I do have to cut that one up. It's just a little bit long. Oops. Right, so one more live today. I will be back at 4 o'clock Adelaide time, which is 4:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time if you are in the same location as me, but 4 o'clock Adelaide time. And I'll be doing a mixed media scrapbooking layout. I know, look out. I don't normally do those, so it is a little bit nerve-wracking. But here we are. We will get there. All right, so why limit happy to an hour? And the other one was, oh, this one's perfect. I am fabulous. That is absolutely perfect. And I'm still going to cut that one up. Now, that's still not quite enough white to make the page balance. So there's one other thing that we can easily do at the end. So snip. So these little Tim Holtz quotes will literally, you could almost do a year's worth of ATCs and you still will not use them all. But they're really good for little, for art journal pages as well. If you don't want to do a great big title, or you want to do one big word and then add a little word to it like I did on my live yesterday. All right, nearly done. So, no, I don't want that up there. So why limit happy to an hour? And then I am fabulous. All right, so nearly done. Let's add a quick border, which brings that black back into our ATC. Sometimes I ink the edge depending on what I've got on the page, but if it really needs some more black, I just look at the difference. It kind of finishes it off. So if you aren't part of our creative community, jump over to Natalie May Creative Community and request to join. We would love to have you. And of course, jump onto nataliemay.com.au to utilize the specials for today. There will be new specials tomorrow. So today's one day only, will not last. So now I still need more white. There's still not enough white there. If I'd left a little bit of white, I could be okay, but I didn't. So just using a little bit of white acrylic making a bit of a wash there. And see, it just finishes it off. There we go. All right, now I'll move these out of the way. Before I go, I'll just give you a quick little recap of what we did and what we used. Of course, we used Tim Holtz. Kasia has linked most of them in there. We have done, so I'll finish these off as well. So we've used our acrylic paints with our Paper Rose pinwheel stencil in the background and our Natalie May cuttables. This one was and I forgot to say which was, it's Tracy Scott PS322, this stencil in the background with the dots, Claire's dots there. And there's that stencil again with our girl that we haven't finished because she's wet. And then we have our two Alice in Wonderland cuttables. And we've used Lindy's Magicals and Claire's dots, the Galactic Wanderer stamp set here. You love the last two the most. Yeah, there's just something about the Magicals that, or did you mean the vintage ones? The Magicals just make backgrounds really easy. We use Nat's Organic Circles here, and we used Dina Wakeley Pointed stencil here, and of course we use the Tim Holtz stickers, snarky stickers. So thank you for watching. Oh, you like the vintage ones? Well, thanks, Sherry. That's I'm not very good at those, so I'm happy that you like them. So just a reminder, 15% off stencils today only, 15% off Tim Holtz today only, and 20% off Vicky Booten, 20% off Paper Rose. Also select Natalie May stencils, which is the organic stencil that I used today, and Natalie May collage papers, select ones only. Natalie May dies, 20% off. I've got them all. They are fantastic. 30% off Christmas. There are Vicky Booten embellishment bundles, which are fantastic. And of course, once Scrap Effects is gone, $2 each. Check that out. And of course, the mega clearance section. Now, they're not old stock. They are, you love the little Wonder Boy and the dog too. Oh, I'm so impressed that you like my vintage ones. It's not my style. The mega clearance section is up to 30% off, and they are things that are one-off that Louise and Kasia are making space for on the shelf. So have a lovely afternoon. I'll be back doing a mixed media scrapbooking page later today at in an hour. Okay, see you later. Thanks. Bye.